Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Thank you for joining me today. I am pleased to be here to announce a major expansion in our efforts to help struggling families stay in their homes and our efforts to help communities rebound from the housing crisis. First, I want to thank Cindy Gago from the Westchester Residential Opportunities, one of our partners in the programs that I will be describing, and we also have several of our anchor partners in the program here, Christy Peel from the Center for New York City Neighborhoods and Ellie Pepper from the Empire Justice Center. I especially want to thank the Ortizes for hosting us at their home today. We appreciate their hospitality, their willingness to share their story with us all, and their courage and perseverance in saving their home, and we're very proud to have been able to work with them on that. Ladies and gentlemen, I am tremendously pleased to be able to announce today an additional $100 million in funding to significantly expand our highly successful efforts to assist homeowners with their mortgages, to help people stay in their homes. My office, through what we call the Mortgage Assistance Program, has been helping families that are facing foreclosure pay off small debts that would keep them from qualifying for vital mortgage modifications. These small loans, which average around $27,000, help to clear a family's balance sheet, like the Ortiz family, and get their finances back on track. Since 2014, and this program is less than 2 years old, the Mortgage Assistance Program has helped more than 650 families across New York State. These are families, just like the Ortizes, who had a home saved by a MAP loan. After Mrs. Ortiz fell ill, they fell behind on their tax payments, and Miguel will tell you more about his personal story later, but I have to tell you that these stories are really all too common across the state of New York. The expansion we are announcing today will mean that thousands of families, just like the Ortizes, will get the help they need. MAP has already had an important life-changing effect on many families, but even more than that, it has given a lifeline to entire neighborhoods. When the house next door to you or on your street gets foreclosed on and is an abandoned property, that hurts the whole community. That hurts the neighborhood's property values, it hurts the neighborhood's quality of life, it puts a burden on local governments. So when these MAP loans are able to save a family from foreclosure and enable them to qualify for a mortgage modification so they can stay in their home, it also saves the neighborhood. It saves the property values of surrounding homes, and that has really been one of the big successes of the MAP program. The numbers are really remarkable. When a house goes into foreclosure, there are studies that estimate that every house around it, and we used studies that estimate that houses within 750 feet lose about 1% of their value. This is the most conservative estimate. There are studies that indicate it could be 2, 3, or 4% of their value. But even if it was just 1% of their value, a foreclosed home, single home on a street, can cause the neighborhood to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars in total property value. MAP loans help stop that slide before it starts. The $18 million in loans we've given out during this initial phase of the program has already saved more than $150 million in home equity for MAP recipients and for the homes in their surrounding communities. We found that every dollar loan to a family turned into an $8.50 preservation of property values for nearby homeowners. So every dollar in MAP loans leads to $8.50 in preserved property values. So far, in the initial stage of this program, we've preserved more than $875 million in property values statewide, and that is a very conservative estimate. Thanks to today's expansion of these efforts, we expect to preserve a total of, as I indicated, more than $875 million in property values for people who live close to loan recipients, and we can see that effect all across the state. MAP is a very straightforward but unique and innovative program to address one of the most difficult challenges facing New Yorkers dealing with foreclosures. Families who are facing foreclosure often would qualify for a mortgage modification that would enable them to keep their homes, but they have a small debt, like a second mortgage or a tax lien or some unpaid medical debt, that makes them technically ineligible for the modification that could keep them in their house and prevent the neighborhood from experiencing the blight of another abandoned property. So it's easy to see how that happens. Many New York families are one job loss, one medical emergency, one unexpected expense away from falling behind on their home payments. And when you fall behind on one payment, it tends to cascade out of control. So MAP makes no interest loans available to families to pay off these small debts, so they can qualify for mortgage modifications, and is only given through our network of legal services and housing counseling providers to folks to enable them to qualify for a mortgage modification. And when the homeowner sells a house and pays off their mortgage, they pay the MAP program back for the loan, and it's a virtuous cycle. That money can then be lent out again. It's important to remember, ladies and gentlemen, how far we have come. When I took over as Attorney General, we were in the midst of the worst housing crisis in the history of our state, and families across the country had lost $7.4 trillion in home equity in 1 year, the year 2008. Their resources just weren't available for New York families trying to cope with this. When I took office, there were something like 345,000 New York families facing foreclosure. We have brought that number down substantially, and through the programs we've initiated, we have saved many of those families and kept them in their homes. In 2012, President Obama appointed me to be the national co-chair of an unprecedented state-federal working group to oversee settlements with the big banks that had sold the bad mortgage-backed securities that created the housing bubble and crash. And my first priority as co-chair was to get funds into the families and communities that had been devastated by the crash. And that is exactly what we have done. I'm proud to say that we have brought more than $5 billion from those settlements into New York State. In addition to the MAP program, we created a series of programs that target all of the major housing issues. In 2012, our first step was to set up a network of legal services providers and housing counselors, and as I say, our anchor partners are here with us today. We call it the Homeowner Protection Program, or HOP. We now fund about 90 agencies across the state who provide free legal services and housing counseling to New Yorkers. We've helped well over 60,000 families through this program. No New Yorker will get foreclosed on because they cannot get to a lawyer. That's a commitment I made early on in my tenure, and that's a commitment we are honoring to this day. Then we found that even if you could save your home, if you were on a street with other abandoned properties, you were also still a victim of the crash. So we began to invest in land banks that enable communities to purchase and rehabilitate abandoned properties and put an end to the blight and lift up the neighborhoods that are really struggling with this plague of abandoned houses. We already have 16 nonprofit land banks, and again, this is a relatively new program, but already there are 16 municipal governments or county governments that have set up land banks from Niagara Falls to Suffolk County that are working to return vacant properties to productive use and to revive the communities around those properties. In Syracuse, for example, they have already acquired almost 1,000 residential and commercial properties, which in a city the size of Syracuse is a huge, huge boost to reviving their neighborhoods, to reviving their communities. And it was our experience with land banks that showed us how important it was to keep families in their homes and to deal with the problem of abandoned properties. So we developed the MAP program, which is administered through our HOP providers to help families that just were this close to qualifying for a mortgage modification but needed that extra loan to do so. And then finally, we discovered that there were scammers holding themselves out as people who would help you with your mortgage. I had the remarkable experience of driving being in my car and hearing on the radio, attention, all the state attorneys general have settled with the federal government. Your mortgage may already be paid off. Call this law firm. Well, I did call that law firm, and they are now out of the business of pretending that they are helping people fix their problems with their mortgages. So we set up something called AG Scam Help, which is an app. So any New Yorker can go to this app if they are hearing about a mortgage modification, see if they are in fact part of our HOP program or a HUD-registered housing counselor, and if they're not, you can report them as scammers to my office. So this has generated tens of thousands of hits already, and we're helping homeowners get the relief they need and avoid the scammers who are pretending to provide relief. So we will continue to expand these programs. We will continue to work with our partners in local government, our partners in legal services and housing counseling, with families across the state of New York. And I'm very proud of the work our office has done in this area. We've just finished our last settlement, which was with Goldman Sachs. There are more to come, but the overall relief that our working group has recovered since it was started in 2012 now has topped $95 billion. So it's quite an accomplishment nationwide. And as I say, New York has gotten more than $5 billion of that. And I now want to introduce one of the most effective housing counselors in our HOP network, who is a major generator of MAP loans, I've now learned, Cindy Gago of Westchester Residential Opportunities. She helped the Ortizes secure the loan that has enabled them to stay here and to stay in their community, and has helped more than a dozen families get the loans that they needed. Cindy.
Thank you very much. Good morning to all. My name is Cindy Gago, and I'm a mortgage default housing counselor for WRO. Since 1968, Westchester Residential Opportunities has championed the expansion of non-discriminatory housing opportunities in our region for low to moderate income households, minorities, senior citizens, and persons with disabilities. WRO is a HUD-approved agency and licensed real estate broker and a United Way agency. All of our housing services for consumers are free and are funded by government services, private contributions, and corporate support. If you'd like to contact us, our website is www.wroinc.org, and our number is 914-428-4507. For the last 4 years, WRO has been part of the Attorney General Eric Schneiderman Homeowners Protection Program. And for the past 18 months, we have also been the major participants in the Attorney General's Mortgage Assistance Program, mostly known as MAP. For many WRO clients, if it were not for MAP, they could have lost their home due to delinquent property tax arrears, condo or co-op maintenance arrears, or past due mortgage payments, causing them to be at risk to lose their home. Thanks to MAP, we have been able to assist 16 families in which received a portion of $576,000 that was dispersed, including Mr. and Mrs. Ortiz, and stop the foreclosure action. The fact that the MAP program is going to be expanded is incredible news for homeowners across the Westchester County and New York State. On behalf of Jeffrey Anderson, our Executive Director, Veronica Raphael, my supervisor, and myself, we cannot thank the Attorney General enough for his support and bringing this program back to the homeowners struggling to stay in their homes and their communities. Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to note that in addition to our other partners here, I'm joined by Gary Brown, who's the head of our Westchester Regional Office and has been critical to making sure these programs have been operating as effectively as they have, and we're very proud of the work that we've been able to do here, led by Gary. And finally, I want to introduce the star of our show, Miguel Ortiz, whose home you see here is still his home because of the work that Cindy did and the MAP program, and could not be more proud to stand with him today. We appreciate your hospitality and your generosity in sharing your story. Miguel.
Thank you so much. My name is Miguel Ortiz, as you know already. And I have to thank you, get off my script here, and thank you especially everyone, Cindy Gago especially, and all the rest of the group we work in her office, for the way she took care of us and listened to us, and ensured the same way she listened to other people who are in the same predicament and worse. So good morning to everyone, and we thank the Attorney General for coming here today. My name is Miguel Ortiz, and my wife is Carol. I'm 86 years old, and my wife and I haven't been in this house for 17 years. We raised 6 children in this house, and now play with our 10 grandchildren, and soon our 2 great-grandchildren from Canada. We have built a community here, and we plan to stay here for the rest of our life. When my wife ran into some medical problems, we fell behind on our property taxes, and the bank threatened us foreclosure. We were lucky that we knew an attorney, Mr. Spino, and he recommended they will reach out to the Westchester residential opportunities. And there where we meet Cindy. Cindy really assured us to be calm, things will be all right, and effectively, it is all right. She helped us tremendously. She knew what to do. She helped to apply to the Attorney General for the MAP program. We were able to pay back taxes and get current in our mortgage. I am very grateful to Cindy for the help she gave us and for taking us through this process. We do not have faced this alone. And I thank you, Attorney General, Mr. Schneiderman. I'm sorry.
Eric.
I say in Spanish and I catch your words on there. For creating this program and for helping us to keep our house the only place we will ever call home. Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to try and answer them.
On a side note, just can you give a quick update on Trump U?
That's quite a side note. The question is about Trump University. Well, the documents submitted to the court in Trump University really speak for themselves. In 2013, long before we thought he had these particular career ambitions, I sued Donald Trump and Trump University for running an unlicensed, phony university that promised people he would teach his personal real estate secrets through his hand-picked experts. We sued him for fraud because we had the deposition, sworn testimony of the president of the university and Mr. Trump himself saying that not only were they not hand-picked experts, he never met them, and not only were they not his personal secrets, he never saw the curriculum. So the university was never licensed. The State Board of Education was chasing them around trying to get a hold of them, and they were pulling all sorts of maneuvers to avoid that. We sued him. There was a ruling by the trial court, some in our favor, some in his favor. A couple of months ago, there was a decision by the appellate division, the immediate appellate court in New York State, ruling in our favor on essentially everything. That we have a 6-year statute of limitations, not as he contended a 3-year statute, that we don't have to prove individual reliance of each victim of the Trump University scam, which is very important. And he is now appealing that to the New York State Court of Appeals. We look forward to continuing to brief these issues in the Court of Appeals. We believe that we will prevail and that he will be held accountable for the millions of dollars that his phony university took off of thousands of people all across America. It's hard to say exactly when we will get to go to trial, but I know the people in the press will be happy to hear that the trial judge has indicated she does not want to do this on the papers. She wants a live hearing with live witnesses. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you to everyone.